The following is a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
From the birthplace of modern winemaking, Sonoma, California, welcome to The Winemakers. Local experts Sam Couturi, Bart Hansen, and Brian Casey invite you to listen in as they discuss all facets of winemaking. So sit back, pour yourself a glass, and let's hear what the guys have to say this week.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Winemakers. Almost full crew today. Myself, Bart Hansen is here. Sam is...
The A-team is here.
Sam is next door, but he'll be over shortly. Danielle is probably crushing fruit at Napa.
Thanks.
And we got Will Gondak.
What is happening?
What's going on? Good morning.
Good morning. Great to meet you all.
This happened because I walked in the cellar a couple weeks ago. There was a box of wine that said "For Sam from Max." I looked at them and it had your wines in there, and so I'm one of those people out. I'm like, why is all this shit in the cellar?
The great Max Couturi, who never gets any credit for everything. He's always working his ass off.
I don't know if he's a real guy.
I thought he seemed like a nice enough guy when I met him.
But yeah, Sam. I asked Sam, I'm like, "What's up with this wine?" And he said, "We need to get that guy on the podcast."
Well,
so I reached out immediately and was like, "Hey, can you come on and talk about these wines?"
well, I really appreciate it. Yeah, never been on the radio before.
Oh, cool.
But
We got a virgin.
yeah,
All right, first wine, Grenache Blanc, 2024.
See,
From Katie's Corner.
You're already one of our favorite people.
Yeah, we know the
You
vineyard.
haven't even said anything. All you got to do is present some Grenache Blanc from Katie's Corner.
yeah. I love making Grenache Blanc. I think Katie's Corner Vineyard is super well suited for it. I think honestly, a lot of the Russian River Valley is suited for it. There's a lot of things in the Russian River Valley that I think are way better suited than things like Chardonnay and Pinot, but everybody recognizes that across the world. But I've been making this one since maybe 2019, but for myself since 2021. So we started making it for Thumbprint Cellars up in Geyserville. I run that facility. We do some custom crush and
Thumbprint are they vegans?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
It is weird.
So I had I had a group in here the other day who requested a vegan cheese and charcuterie board.
Oh.
And so I'm at Oliver's Market. I'm at Whole Foods. I'm looking for vegan charcuterie. Ran into Casey Graybell's wife at Whole Foods because she's like the cheesemonger there. And I'm like, yo, do you have any vegan charcuterie? And she looked at me and she goes, for what? And so I told her what was going on. Anyway, I couldn't find any vegan charcuterie. The only thing I found was, long story short, the people come in and they say that they belong to Thumbprint because they're like, yeah,
That
we're
makes
vegans
sense. Yeah,
and they're vegan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, whatever helps you sell wine and like,
So random.
I'm not going to judge anyone for eating anything really, but these are all vegan as well. You know,
Yeah,
most wine
Throw that
most
in
wines
is.
yeah.
A
A little bit of sturgeon.
I don't think anybody uses that. I mean,
I worked with a woman who used it.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have done egg white fining on my Syrah a few times if it's a little bit abrasive, but yeah. Do you want me to dork out on this Grenache Blanc? Or?
Yeah, dork out on the Grenache Blanc, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit of your history,
your background.
Yeah. I'm good at blabbering. You gotta have to keep me on track.
No, that's all good. That's what podcasts
You've
are good
obviously
for.
never listened to our show before.
Yeah. Well, actually, I listened to it once because I got that email or a text or something, looked it up, and I saw a little bit ago you had interviewed the guys from Crux, and I know those guys pretty well. They're our next door neighbors.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But yeah, so this Grenache Blanc, I honestly love making this wine. Out of all my wines, this is the wine I drink the most. This is also probably my easiest to sell wine, just because it moves really well by the glass at some nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And all of my wines I do in a very hands-off manner. They're all native ferments. They're all unfiltered.
So you're already talking to your bottles.
Oh, I am. I got to talk at the microphone. My bad, guys.
First time.
They are very minimal intervention wines. This wine in particular, I do a bit of foot shredding just to get a little bit of skin contact. That how much depends on how ripe it is. If it's less ripe, I'll do more because that'll help raise the pH and get some more flavor precursors in there that you just might not be so much of. And
what is it that you're trying to get out of the skins? Like in this situation, is it? I don't think of Grenache Blanc as being all that delicate, or
it depends. But what you're going for is some texture. You're going for, and then just more rich flavor profile, pretty much.
Doesn't Grenache Blanc tend to have a little weight to it?
It can.
Anyway, right?
It really depends on where you make it. And the reason that I source it from here is that you can have a flavorful, rich Grenache Blanc that's still, high 12s alcohol.
Yeah, because this is light on its feet. This is super clean.
Yeah. All my wines are pretty much fairly light on their feet. Can't avoid it with the Syrah. That's a bigger wine. Yeah. That's the whole reason why I think this vineyard is so great, because Grenache Blanc does well in the heat, and therefore it gets planted in places that are really hot, and you can have a bigger, fatter, flabbier style. What's happening?
How's it going?
It goes well.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So being that this is unfiltered, and by the way, you did a very nice job getting it unfiltered, what was your technique for getting it cleaned up?
Honestly, a lot
gravity?
of people worry about that, but if you stir your barrels on the lees, they clarify almost with no issue.
Right.
And so I keep all these wines on the lees. Most of them, the whites or the Grenache Blanc stays on the lees until like a couple weeks before bottling it. And I will play with the lees, stir it quite a bit, literally depending on how ripe the vintage was. If it's a less ripe vintage, I'm going to stir it more, build more body. If it's a more ripe vintage, I'm going to do it less. There's no formula, but like that's kind of
common
what
sense
guides me.
Yeah.
But for clarifying it, I stir the lees a few times, and then I will, with like this white, I'll just rack it. I'll just what I call daisy chaining it, because I try to keep oxygen exposure to a minimum. I don't open my barrels very often. I'll just bulldog it, push it with pressurized like nitrogen or something like that. From one barrel to the next, I'll set my screw high, lose a decent amount of wine. That's okay. I will collect some of that, let it settle, and that'll be used to top in another interesting blend that I'll show you later. That's a red that gets some white in it. But essentially just careful work. I mean, these are all
cool.
These are all unfiltered. They're all native ferments, but that doesn't mean it has to be all fucked up, right? Like if you work it carefully,
I can't talk, but I can ding a glass
and pay attention, then you can still make a really fresh and clean wine, and that's the goal. I also like that wine is pretty well clarified. This wine, I don't know if it's because Grenache and Grenache Blanc are so tenacious or what, but like every winter, once it gets cold, and maybe it's little tartrates nucleating something, it'll usually get a little bit of cloudiness. But it doesn't matter, honestly.
No bentonite?
No. I have a pretty firm philosophy in bentonite, and that is, why the hell would you use it unless you're making a really cheap wine that needs to be able to like survive, a fire? Because in my I'll explain further. If someone takes my wine and leaves it in their trunk and it sits up to 105 degrees for 6 hours, I want them to know that they messed it up, and if it's gotten extra cloudy, well, then maybe they now know, crap, I ruined this. Instead of it looking perfect and then tasting terrible. And I'm only making, 400 or 500 cases of wine, and, I have a distributor and that kind of stuff, but they're only selling wine to locations that are, are a little more understanding. So if it were on the shelf in Safeway and I was making a product like that, I would take a different approach, but not for Gondak Cellars. So I don't like to bentonite. I am interested in cold stability, but all I do is stack my barrels outside for a few cold nights and cross my fingers. But at the same time, I don't really have issues if you age
That works.
Yeah, if you
to a degree. I mean, I'm not going for bulletproof. I'm going for delicious, and I'm okay with a little bit of cloudiness because, I mean, look how clear this wine is. It's pretty damn clear. But like, I'm okay with that. I'm trying to focus on making the wine taste good, as opposed to making it only look crystal clear. Like that doesn't really matter to me that much. But the cold stability aspect, I want it to be cold stable, but when you barrel age things on the lees for a significant amount of time, you naturally typically gain some additional cold stability and heat stability, especially if your barrel room's cold. And then as far as heat stability, you gain that as well, just from like manoproteins that get released in your lees. And so if you do like a heat or cold trial on a wine right when you put it in barrel versus after it's been on the lees for 10 months, it's going to be very different. But yeah, and I can dork out about all this stuff, and we could talk about something else too, whatever you guys want.
I'm happy just letting you talk to me.
Okay.
How you doing, Sam?
I'm great.
Time do you guys start this morning?
4.
Okay.
Oh, rough.
We picked a lot of Rossi White Roans for Homage Blanc Plus, and in a nice light drizzle.
Right.
Are you frantically picking before all this rain comes?
I mean, you can only frantically pick so much.
Yeah.
We are operating Enterprise Vineyards at about 140% capacity.
Yeah.
Yesterday we picked 70 tons. Today we'll break 100. Tomorrow probably the same thing. Saturday maybe the same thing. There's talk of Sunday picks. And then supposedly there's a window Monday morning before the rain arrives to pick some more. And yes, so there's things that have to come off. And there's things that, some nice thick-skinned Rossi Ranch Grenache.
It'll hang.
It'll hang.
Especially because it's so well farmed. Like there's nothing.
I mean, and I've said this before, and obviously whatever they're talking about for the next week is more than we've had already as far as rain and wetness this harvest. But it wasn't a year to be greedy anyway. And so, you should have dropped a bunch of fruit. You should have done a bunch of canopy management. The crop is huge. Go in there and thin it out and you won't have as many problems as, you could. And at this point, what we'll also do is we'll do a cleaning pass of any block that is left out after next week and go through and clean anything that's problematic and then go through the next day and pick it. So it's a wild harvest.
Well, you have a vastly different concern for this upcoming rainstorm than I do because I'm going to be pressed off on Tuesday, and I was hoping to be fly fishing in the Sierras on Thursday, but that's not going to happen.
Put your vacation on hold.
But I mean,
I think he's bragging. So.
Yeah.
No, we're early this year, and I'm going to take advantage. But I think it's interesting with the rain here. A lot of people tend to get super, super concerned, and it's so varietal dependent, but I got to work in Bordeaux in 2013, and it was a terrible vintage. And the one take-home message there was that, like, it's a pretty robust grape, like Cabernet, and it can really deal. Like, it rained a lot there, and it was not a good vintage. And it was a good lesson on, like, how do you stay in business if your crop is bad.
I said
you have a good marketing department.
The wonderful thing about the 8th Street Winery Ghetto is so we work with Stone Edge Farm at one end and Cayman at the other end, and those are both pretty small facilities. and are getting overrun right now because we're trying to pick as much of their fruit as possible. And in the middle of that is Three Sticks, which has a very well equipped facility and mostly done Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And so, the Stone Edge Farm staff is stressed out. The Cayman staff is stressed out, and Three Sticks is in the middle just going like, guys, it's all good. We got this. So we're making Homage Blanc. Some of our Homage Blanc will be made there for 2025 because they have the space and but the point was, I'll get there. Yeah. I'm doing the best I can, Brian.
It's a journey.
I was talking to Ryan. What's Ryan's last name? Who's the winemaker at...
Yes,
Ryan. And because they still have some cab hanging out and no plan to get it before the rain.
Yeah.
And I said the exact same thing. It's like, it rains in Bordeaux.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Way more than it rains here. Yeah. And I think they make okay Cabernet.
Yeah.
So, in fact, last week I was talking to Isabel Gossier. We were picking some Primitivo that had a fair amount of botrytis and freaking out because we're California babies who never pick anything that's not perfect. And she goes, don't worry about it. We make wine out of botrytis fruit all the time. Here's what you do. And you're like, oh, okay. I
think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
The wonders of sulfur dioxide.
Yeah.
So she had some actually, yes, obviously.
What else did she have to say? This is where I gleam a little bit of info
this is free advice for all you winemakers who will be making things out of botrytis fruit next week. Basically, I mean, we were Primitivo, she said, treat it like Napa Cab. We crushed it. We sulfured and inoculated immediately, and then heated it up as quickly as possible, and
just get it going.
Just get it going, and get it going as fast, and then press it sweet. We'll press it. I think we're pressing it today after a week of fermentation. Probably about 10 bricks, and let it finish in tank and get it off the. get away from the skins. Get the extraction with the heat.
That's probably
and then she had technical terms, and maybe you guys on what botrytis does to tannins, and I guess basically exacerbates tannin. So by doing this, quick, get it off the skins, you sort of balance that, that propensity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Pritchard.
Right. Ryan Pritchard. There we go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
Shout out.
Just talking to him this morning.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about?
Yes.
You want me to dork out on all these?
Well, we certainly want to talk about them. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Brighter Day Rosé.
Brighter Day Rosé. This is
It's gonna be a brighter day.
This is a true rosé. So this is a direct to press rosé, but it's a fairly different one. So this is from the only vineyard that I farm, and I've actually stopped as of this year because it's just such a pain and the yield is just dismal. But this is an old vineyard up on Spring Mountain that got burned. It's a terrace vineyard, and then at the bottom of the terraces is a little flat bit that just gets enough irrigation naturally through the hillside there. And so I've only just been doing canopy management to the Merlot and then picking it for rosé. But I always pick it the same day that I'm calling the pick for some Chenin Blanc and make for something else. So this is about 85% Merlot, 15% Chenin Blanc chucked in the press together, whole cluster pressed, fermented in barrels, and then aged in stainless.
Yeah. It's fucking delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And that's my wife on the label right there.
And are you the photographer?
Well, no. All these other labels, they're my various friends of mine that I've been friends with forever. Like the paintings, that's my buddy Alex Silver. This label's my buddy Jake. I'm wearing his hat right now. It's my buddy Jordo. The Grenache Blanc is another photographer friend of mine, Teddy Miller. And the rosé, my wife loves rosé, and she really wanted me to make one. So I had an iPhone picture out my car window at the beach of her, and it got on the label.
That worked out pretty good.
I see the windowsill of your car.
Yeah. This is just out my van window. We were on a road trip somewhere. I can't recall. It's probably up northern Mendocino or something like that.
Nice sunset.
I don't quite remember, but yeah. So I'm
That's cool. I never had a Merlot Chenin Blanc rosé before.
Yeah.
That's a first.
Last year had a little bit of Cabernet Franc in it too, because we brought some Cabernet Franc in for a different
why not?
rosé.
Yeah.
And this year I'm doing Cabernet Franc rosé, just because this was just such a pain in the ass. Like really, like, you know, it's not irrigated, hasn't been fertilized in a long. It's as, I guess, organic as it gets, like that vineyard, right?
benign neglect.
Just canopy management, and it makes for a cool wine. But that would be the last vintage of that.
All right, so let's get into where else did you work? Because a couple times you've mentioned making things for other projects. So like, you look like a young guy, so you don't look like you've been traveling. But then you mentioned Bordeaux in 2013, so Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I've been, you know, a pretty curious wine nerd for a while. I'm not like the most social in the wine scene. I like to do my job, make sure I'm selling my wine, and then try to get the hell out of town and mountain bike, surf, fish, whatever. So I don't really hang in the scene all that much, although that I should a little bit. But so yeah, I guess starting at the beginning, my first job.
We'll start. Where did you grow up?
I grew up down in Marin County,
Where?
In Kentfield, if you know where it is.
Sure, of course.
I'm the youngest in my family. The accident by far. Both my parents grew up there in the 50s. My grandma grew up in Coombsville in like 1915. She was born there. And so
farming.
I don't know. There's like a big Dutch family. I don't know what they did, to be honest.
Is that Gondak? Is that Dutch?
No, it's actually Polish. That's
Polish, okay.
my her husband's
got it.
last name, and my last name, of course. But yeah, so grew up down in Marin. Didn't know much about farming. The only thing I knew about wine is that my parents loved wine. And then in high school, my uncle used to own a ranch and up in Napa on Mount Veeder. And then unfortunately they got divorced. My aunt got it for a bit and then she got rid of it. But while I was in high school, I was a ranch hand every summer. So I would drive up to Napa every day. So I kind of knew that the wine industry was a thing. You know, I grew up in, you know, suburban Marin County, but like I was aware that there was an industry, but I was just ranch handing. I was like fixing irrigation, building chicken coops, you know, stack this shit over here. Okay, actually restack it over here, kind of thing.
Were there grapes on the property?
There were, yeah. And yeah, so then I miraculously got into Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo and went down there in 2012. And actually,
Cal Poly miracles.
I heard the only one of your guys' podcasts that I've listened to, because I just recently looked it up, was that you had the Crux guys on here. And I know them, and I know Brian went to Cal Poly, and I remember you mentioned something about some fraternity. And
Alpha Gamma Rho.
Yeah, it's funny because I was not the fraternity type, but I did steal a bunch of beer from that fraternity one time. Like friends of mine came over.
That's the ag fraternity.
Yeah, they came over, these girls, and they're like, they have a pyramid of 30 packs. And so we like backed my car up real quick and just swooped a handful of them and had a party at my buddy's house. But anyways, so
I heard they're still looking for you.
Totally. They're avid podcast listeners.
Yeah. Anyways,
alumni
no, we'd smooth it out. But anyways, so I went to Poly. I majored in agricultural business, did a minor in wine and viticulture, worked at a tasting room in the little town of Harmony, just south of Cambria, north of Cayucas. It was sweet. I could surf on my way to work. And I helped a tiniest bit in the cellar there. But mostly just selling wine and kind of learning what that was like. I worked there for a few years. And then after college, you know, thought I was going to continue and get into wine, but I wasn't totally sure. And one of my best buddies was doing the harvest thing for a little bit. And he's like, you should start doing some harvests. And so I did my first harvest at Odette when they took over, which was... That was a rough harvest. That was like the roughest harvest, honestly, I've ever.
What year was that?
2012, and that was my first full harvest.
I mean,
it was the old facility before they moved into the new one.
It was a facility-based rough harvest because 2012 was
they got like 100-point wine, which is like vintage. Whatever you want to say about that, like but like it was a great intro because money was not an issue at that place, so it was like cool to see what it's like, when you're trying to do everything as good as you can and money doesn't matter, which is not how it is for almost anyone else, but like it was really cool. And so after that, I kind of followed one of my friends and started doing harvest hopping. I went down to New Zealand. I worked in Santa Cruz. I worked in Australia. I worked in Bordeaux. I worked in South Africa. And then I came back, and most of my wine and vit at Poly was viticultural. So I wanted to do some more enological academic learning. And I almost did a master's at the school in New Zealand, but it was kind of expensive for me. So I went and did the program over in Napa, and it's a 2-year program. And I just went all out and just did it in a year. And that was really cool. Like, honestly, that program, it's not like Cal Poly where it's like, if you're not learning, like, you're going to fail. Right. So like you can pass at Napa Valley College, right? But if you're doing well and you're, really trying, you can actually learn so much because all the teachers are adjunct teachers.
Right. So they all have like winery jobs.
They're actual pros. Yeah. They're not just teaching all year. That's great too, but like it allows you to come loaded with questions and almost like lead the class. And I loved it. And then, so after
it's funny. I know a couple of guys that are taking some classes at Napa Valley, vit classes, and they're complaining that like they have homework and reading to do. And
why are you there?
They're just two guys that own a couple little small vineyards. They just want to learn more, right? And they're just kind of like blown away at the professionalism of as it is.
They thought they were going to go hang out at the community college,
drink some wine.
I mean, you
college girls,
but you're gonna get what you put into it. If you try, you can learn.
Yeah. All right, tell us about this.
Is it
Ember?
Are we on right now?
Amber, right?
Okay, yeah. So
Amber, not Ember. Amber.
So amber wine, orange wine.
Cool label.
Thank you, man. This is my buddy Alex Silver. Give him a shout out.
Shout out Alex Silver. Send us his Instagram. We'll tag him in the show notes.
Yeah, I will. He's the man. He's undoubtedly the man. This is a pretty cool wine. This is like a special wine for my wine club. It is a Saunier of Grenache. I had too much that year. I did a Saunier and then all of my heavier press Grenache Blanc, then fermented on Grenache Blanc skins for about a month, and then barrel aged for about 7 months.
It's so funny because to me, this wine is drinking like more of a typical rosé than your rosé.
Yeah.
Because that one's, especially after it started to warm up, started to get a little weight to it and mouthfeel to it. And this one, when you said this was a orange wine, I was like, wait a minute, this has like that great acidity.
And what it also has that the direct press rosé has is it has a little bit more structure. So it's like. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely an acid-driven wine. Yeah. Those are both full mallow also.
Okay.
To me, what this wine is this is like a true patio pounder. This is meant to chill it and just crush it with some friends, some cheese, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to just be a real fun wine for my wine club. It's also a practice, like an economic practice in winemaking where like I'm trying to make something really fun and interesting out of stuff that could have gone down the drain.
Right. Which I always feel like that's something that we never really talk about with consumers is, let's say you make a blend that's 60% Roussanne, 30% Grenache Blanc and 10% Claret Blanche. That doesn't mean that that's all the wine you had.
Yeah.
So what is going on with the rest of those things? And that's kind of you guys can speak to that. Sometimes you're using it for barrel topping like the next year, but then you can also do fun things like this where you can make these wines and generate a little income maybe a little bit earlier than some of your red wines that fund the next project.
Totally. And that's kind of the idea, making something cool out of, something that was possibly going to go down the drain.
Yeah.
So it's all, I call it ephemeral, because like an ephemeral spring, it's not here all year. It's going to come back a little differently. Right. And, so the idea is I'm going to continue, like this year, this wine in 25, the one that's fermenting right now, it's still like an orange wine. It's fermenting on Grenache Blanc skins, but it's probably 50% Grenache juice and then 40% Malbec Saunier from a different project, and then a little bit of Grenache Saunier as well, fermenting on Grenache Blanc skins.
Huh.
And this is just a wine club only wine, but I am making it. Hey, nice to meet you, man. Yeah, give me some hand love. There we go. Yeah.
Coming down. I'm gonna try the wines later.
Please do. Thank you. Have a good day. Yeah. So it's just, I don't even know where I was at.
That's good.
That's all right. You're good. You're good.
How much do you sell this wine for?
This wine, I believe it's either $30 or $32. I try to make my wines all quite affordable, and they're honestly the most affordable wines from all their vineyards, and a lot of that can be justified at the moment because I get to make my wine where I run a winery for free,
which we haven't talked about.
Yeah. And am I standing too far from that? There we go. What's up?
I mean, that's awesome that they let you do that.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to continue to make it affordable, and hopefully that's called sustainability.
Yeah, totally. So like, the rosé is $25, but that's a wine club only wine. So it's like just supposed to be like, here you go, guys. My Grenache Blanc is $30. Ephemeral, that's I think $30. The Grenache Noir is $33.
Yeah. The
Everything in Its Right Place blend, that's a Radiohead ripoff right there, but I did get it trademarked. I think that's $32, and the Syrah is a little bit more. It's like $42. Yeah. It takes a lot longer to make.
Yeah, a little more time.
Very expensive fruit.
With doing that. Okay, so where are you making the wines at?
So you guys interviewed Crux. We're the next building over. So up off of Hassett Lane in Geyserville. It's about 5 to 10 minutes from downtown.
What is the name of the entity?
So this would be, I'm an employee of Thumbprint Cellars. So I run the winery for them.
Okay. So that's what it is. It's Thumbprint's facility, and you are the...
Yeah. I'm the associate winemaker, right? Cool. Facility winemaker. And we do Thumbprint's productions maybe about anywhere from, it depends on the year, 20 to 45% of the production that we do there. And then a lot of it is custom crush for a handful of projects, some that have been there for a while, some that come and go for a couple of years, some that are there for 1 year, don't pay their bills, and they're gone the next year.
Any people we would know, not the people that don't pay their bills.
They've just moved out, but we were making the wine for Portalupi for the last 10 years. We do a lot of the winemaking for Ramazzotti. They're big time growers up in Dry Creek and Alexander Valley. Joe's the salt of the earth, and his son Travis is awesome. He's kind of in the position to kind of take that over, but in a real way. He's not just inheriting it. He's a hardworking dude. And whom else? Everything else has been kind of more couple year stints, but those are the guys that we've been working with the longest.
And what is your total production? It changes every year, I'm sure, but in general, what are you at right now?
So 2025, I'll be doing about 600 cases of wine. I'm usually
that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's small, man.
Yeah. I love it.
And I have typically 400 to 500, maybe 400 would be a good average the past few years. Yeah. I sell a decent amount of my wine through my wine club. And then,
so sorry for interrupting, but how do you get a wine club when you're doing 600 cases of wine a year?
You make 6 wines.
But how do you get the word out for people to try the wine?
Small wine club. Yeah. Right. But how do I get the word out? And that's
how did they find you?
Just doing events, doing tastings at wine shops. That's pretty much
Hustling.
it. Like
You're
it's hustling.
Yeah.
And so I have a small wine club. I also have a distributor that sells the majority of my wine.
Who's your distributor?
My distributor is Copafina.
Uh-huh.
They're mostly an importer, and then also have a handful of smaller domestic brands. I love working with them.
And how many states are you in?
3, but really like 1.
And what state is that?
Well, California, I sell most of my. Before I got with Copafina, I was doing all my own wholesale, all in the Bay Area and North Bay. Now that I have them, I've been, admittedly getting a little complacent. I've been letting them do it all, and that's majority of it is in LA and kind of like higher end restaurants and those kind of things. Then they brought me in. They have like 2 emerging markets, Arizona and Nevada. They've been a California distributor for a while, and they just brought my stuff there too. That's tiny at the moment. So I really want to get a connection with the distributor on like the East Coast. I was meeting with one this summer, but they kind of really want me to bail on Copafina. And
Right. And they also want to take over any accounts that you already have.
Yeah, it's like, and good luck doing that. Like,
Yeah.
people buy wine from my reps because they like the wine, but they like the reps. Like,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
the reality of it.
Or they're good at their job.
But so I'm still in talks with them. Hopefully I can line something up to get in like New York and Chicago. But I didn't really like them trying to strong arm me and like make me bail on my one reliable
I
thing.
mean, you should really think about that because, and do you really want to be in New York and Chicago?
I don't know.
What's wrong with the secondary markets? Like, everybody wants to be in New York and Chicago. And I'm just stirring the pot for you.
And they're
Think about
mostly
it.
buying French, Spanish, and Italian.
Like what about, Atlanta, St. Louis sort of thing?
Here's
Shout
a
out
quick
Atlanta.
answer to your thought, experiment here is I don't give a shit. Any other market who's interested and wants to enjoy
share the
my
wine.
wines, let's go.
Yeah.
Those are just the ones that he proposed.
Yeah.
I got you.
So,
I'm just
so it's
throwing
like,
it out there.
let's do it. But I just like, the wine industry.
The fact that you got distributors that are willing to talk to you in this current market, good for you.
At the level you're making wine at.
Yeah. Well, I think
especially at that amount.
I think where I play in people's books and like especially Copafina's is like they do a lot of imports and they're like, do you have anything maybe more interesting and like obscure from, smaller producer that's local, that's like domestic. Yeah. And then like I'm the guy, right? They have a couple other brands, right? And so like it's not, they're selling a decent amount of my wine and like they're really keeping me sane, right? Because I don't have to worry about that. But that's kind of the position I play in their book and would play probably in anyone else's book for now. It's like, here's something interesting that you haven't tried. You want to run this by the glass. Yeah. And unfortunately, they only really land at kind of more upscale restaurants. Though I am this in a couple wines we'll try. This is a wine that I'm making to try to get to a better BTG price point to kind of open that up a little bit more.
Right. You mean try to go to a higher BTG point?
No, to try to make my by the glass price lower so I can have more. Because right now, all the restaurants I'm in are like, it's an expensive glass of wine.
Right.
And which is unfortunate because the glass of wine costs half the bottle, like what I'm selling it, direct for. But, it is what it is. And I like, so it's all practice, right? And like, you're like, oh, you're only making 400 cases. Like, it's like, I'm not, but I'm making these in a way that I am not concerned about selling them and growing at that pace. As long as I have a full-time job, if that falls apart, then you're going to see me hustling way more, and not just
Bunch
relying
of wine in the back of a Toyota Celica hitting the road.
And I've done that before too. I didn't have a Celica, but
I'm specifically referencing that, I think, because I remember Anne Moller-Roque, her daughter, who now I think works at Stonehenge or whatever. When she started Blue Farm, I remember it was like a Toyota Celica where it was like the garage wine that we were getting at some restaurant I was working at. Yeah, let's get into some red.
But yeah, so like I said, you're gonna have to keep me on track. I can blabber.
That's all right. We're
circles.
distracting you. We're good at distracting.
So I love this wine. This is the wine that this is how I met Max Couturi. The Couturi family is now farming this one. It's organically farmed. It's really cool.
Wait, where is it? What vineyard is it?
It's off of, well, it's been called Campbell McKinney forever.
Okay.
The new owner is Craig Young. Okay. And so, I already bought the labels for my next vintage, so it's still going to be Campbell McKinney, but for the 24, but it's going to be Young Family Vineyards moving forward. And so, yeah, the Couturi team is farming this now, and they're replanting most of it. And the Grenache is still producing good fruit, and they have a little bit of a market for it still. They've had a great market for it.
Oh man, the length on this wine.
It's pretty cool, right? Like,
yeah.
So
especially at the, the very balanced alcohol of 13.5, it has, it has that length and depth to it.
Man, it's just still going. It's got that cool finish.
Thank you, man. This is a wine that I am pretty proud of. Like I said, I probably drink the most of the Grenache Blanc because it's just so easy. But this wine, I try to make this as all my wines are a little bit more on the lighter side for what they are. I try to make this like, imagine if Grenache were like a Sonoma Coast Pinot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going for. So.
Oh my God, it's like black pomegranate, and it's got some like crushed rock in there too. This is fucking great.
You know what it always really has too? You got to search for it. Sometimes it's more like it. Sometimes it has some like grapefruit pith, which is like an interesting thing. Like tons of cherry, tons of strawberry.
I mean, I totally get that out of like cool climate Grenache. So that would make sense.
And it's not it's a cooler zone compared to where Grenache can also be successful, and people tend to plant things where it's like, shit, it's too hot for everything else, so we'll do this, Grenache, right? Yeah. Whereas honestly, I personally think that if you were trying to make a more compelling wine, a lot of Russian River would make more compelling Grenache than Pinot. And the Russian River is a pretty diluted ABA. It's massive, for good and terrible reasons. Like it's huge, right? So it's like if you're way west, it's way different than the northern reach or middle reach, whatever they call this. This is essentially at the very northern edge of it on West Side Road. So you go like a mile down the road and you're at the very southern edge of Dry Creek Valley.
Right.
But it's...
And so what's the closest winery this is vineyards to?
That's a good question. There's one called like Matrix.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the neighbors. Toomey's Russian River spot is like on the valley side. This is on the hillside. So across the road, maybe like a mile up the road.
Yeah.
So if you're driving south there, you'll see a white picket fence and there's some terraces right there. That's right where this comes from. There's also a top block of Grenache that gets a lot riper. So, you guys
this is a conversation we were having earlier. About that.
With like, so that is, it ended up being, I'm pretty stoked on that. I know I'm just talking in the dark right here, but essentially the grower was ripping out a lot of this vineyard and could not commit to not rip out the Grenache. So I found other Grenache this year. Then he hits me up like 2 weeks before it needs to get picked this year. And he's like, you still in 2 to 3 tons? I'm like, no, dude, I spent all my money. So instead I'm making wine for him and then getting fruit for free this year, which is awesome because it's not cheap.
What is typically like Grenache prices from a vineyard like that?
I don't know what is typical, but this fruit, it's usually in the high 3,000s. I think last year was 37 a ton, which is not like, wild Napa cab prices, but when you're selling like a bottle of $33 wine, it's like a high price, right? And especially once you sell so much wholesale. But yeah, I love this wine. 23 vintage really lent into what I'm going for with this wine. It it's so I do a little bit of whole cluster. Depends on the year. Not usually a ton, like maybe at the max 25%. But I ferment it quite cool. So I'm going for minimal extraction. I ferment it close to dryness on the skin, depending on logistics, depending on how it tastes. That's the biggest part. It's a combination of the two. But I ferment it cool. And that kind of keeps it from getting too extracted.
How do you do that?
Either if it's in, it depends on availability, but if it's in, we have these 2.5 ton fermenters. If it's in one of those, I got a jacket on there, cool it down. Otherwise, if I got it in bins, I just put it in the barrel room, which is at like 60 degrees.
So what you say cool temperature, like where are you at?
Cool, that would be like peaking at 70.
Oh.
So for most of the ferment in the 60s.
And so for how long?
It still doesn't go that much slower, it'll like a couple weeks, 2 weeks on skins. And then, but I do a lot of the whole cluster and then also whole berry. So when you press it, it gets a little sweeter. Right. And this one, I typically do a pied de cuve. I try to do with my rosé and my whites. I do everything, hyperoxidative, so that's no SO2 or no CO2 at the press, so you let it oxidize, and then Grenache Blanc it'll look like orange juice, and you're like, what did I do? But once you've done that once and you see that all that like precipitates out during fermentation, you're like, oh sweet. And that lends to, it's a different style, it's whatever you want to do, but like I think that a lot of those the like phenolics will, essentially precipitate out. And I think it lends to like a smoother wine. But I'm getting off course here. This wine, I'll do a pied de cuve. So the white and rosé, chuck and barrel, once like, put it in tank, then rack it to barrel, put some dry ice in there so it doesn't oxidize, the next day goes to barrel. And then you just kind of come back every couple of days, smell it, make sure it smells good. And that's pretty much it. And then the Grenache, the red, and the other reds, ideally, I'm not doing it spontaneous. Ideally, this is the way to do a native fermentation, in my opinion. In a safer manner, you go like maybe 10 days before you're going to pick, you go pick a huge sample, crush it all up, put it in like a carboy or something like that, and let that go native. Yeah. Sometimes it goes bad, but at least that wasn't your whole tank, right? And then you just let that go native, and then by the time your fruit comes in, you can add some juice to it, let it go a couple more days, and then you have this huge inoculum from the vineyard that you chuck in there, and it just goes, but like with like not much of a ethyl acetate stage.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that time when you're doing an uninoculated fermentation where you get a little bit of ethyl acetate, you pull the lid off and it's a little ethyl acetate. And it's funny, I was just going through this and then it starts to ferment and that ethyl acetate's there. But once it gets to a warmer temperature, it all blows off. But with what you're saying, with trying to do that cool temperature, I can see where you wanted to get going. Because you don't want to spend that time at those temperatures. It would take forever to get that thing going.
Totally. And to be honest, I'd say about half the years I just do it spontaneous because I didn't get a pied de cuve in time. Right. Or like I got it like a few days before, because being the little guy, you don't get what you want. Like people think winemaking is all about like, oh, you're going to do this, and this. And like, to be honest, winemaking is more like, I want A, B, C, D, and E. And they're like, here's A and D, like figure it out. Right.
Yeah. You're getting 2 tons. We're picking a vineyard.
Exactly. So like when you're picking 2 tons, if you can get it if you get it on the day you want it, hell yeah, right? Yeah. But like if you can get it within a couple days of when you want it, you got to be pretty stoked on that.
This one's fucking great. How much did you say you sell this for?
This is $33 a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this wine. I call this wine my camping wine because it pairs well with everything or nothing.
Totally.
Pair it with a good time, pair it with a hot date. Yeah. And
this is only the second time, Bart, on the podcast we've talked about that. How do you say it? Pied de cuve?
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was on the first time it was mentioned on the show. I was like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
It was, what's her name? Wayward.
Oh, but it's such a cool way to, I think
it's risk mitigation.
Why doesn't everyone do that?
because just why he said you got to go out and get the huge
Right,
sample
but
and
it
get
seems
it going.
like that's like a really
it's risk mitigation, and often I don't get to do it. Like this year I didn't get to do it, and so there's a little bit of that ethyl acetate stage, but like once you've done that a couple times and you know what to do, you know, it's not really that worrisome. You honestly, like, wine makes itself, you know, like there are ways to make wine better and even more ways to make wine way worse. Right. But like it will make itself. And the way I look at it is that a winemaker is like, their job is to see what they think a style of wine, a certain vineyard would do well, and then try to get to that goal, not like shove a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And I think that's how there's a lot of good wines, right? There's a lot less great wines. And I think that's how real great wines are made.
What do you drink in your free time that's not this stuff and it's not thumbprint? Like what kind of wines do you like to drink? What do you kind of geek out on?
Yeah, so mostly lighter style wines. Although the thumbprint wines, like they're all DTC and they do very well. It's not my style of wine. Right. So we make those in a much different style. Those aren't the style that I like to drink, but it's the style that my boss likes and has been very successful with. So hell yeah, we're going to do that. Yeah. Mostly, honestly, I drink wines of my friends. I love all sorts of wines. I love to learn. I love international wines, but I support local. Yeah. I only buy wines that were made essentially in California or Oregon. Like, and that's because like, you know, you gotta support it. Like I love, and I've worked internationally and I'll buy those ones when I'm there and I love to try them, but like, I'm really all about like, we're so about like buying local food, but like we also import so much wine and like, that's important too, to keep people interested and educated and, you know, keep the pizzazz going. But like essentially, getting around to it, I drink my friends' wines
too. That, like we're surrounded by wineries and people that make wine, but then we also have access to global stuff. It's not like someone who's living in the middle of the country that their access to wine is whatever they're getting at the store.
And so essentially, if I'm going to buy wine, I've got plenty of friends that are winemakers and I will buy their wine or
shout out some of your friends.
So our neighbors up at Hassett, Idlewild, Ruth Lewandowski. Yeah. You should have Evan on. He's a dynamic guy. He's hilarious. We like to ride bikes. He's a mountain biker. He's a cool dude. Way more obscure style of wine, but he's like a darling of that side of the industry. Leo Steen's up there. Sometimes I'll trade wines with him. The Root Down guys, Mike, trade wines with them. Crux, trade wines with them. If I'm going to Santa Barbara, I'm going to buy my buddy's wines, Piro Wine Company. He makes awesome kind of more Burgundian style Pinot, a little Chard, little Sangio as well. He's the man. He's the associate winemaker at Albon Clément.
Cool.
Maybe one of the most eccentric people you'll ever meet. He has like 45 guitars. But
I mean, what else are you gonna spend your money on than guitars?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, depends on how much you got, I guess. But yeah. So I mean, I mostly try to support local, smaller producers who are in the same position as me. They're either all on their own or they're grinding, working for someone else, and like trying to keep the dream alive. And that's where I want to spend my money. You know, that you can
if you're even
$dollars.
spending money. You sound like you're kind of like me. I do a lot of swaps.
I do mostly swaps.
Yeah,
but I will like if someone's having like, hey, like we're doing an event at like this wine shop and I'm gonna go, I'll buy bottles, you know, and like you know, be part of it, and that makes the shop like them better, you know. Exactly. But
all right, let's talk about this blend.
Oh, let's hit it. Okay,
you got me all wondering about it now.
Let's stop this. So
you don't want Bart all wondering.
This is a pretty different blend, I'll say that.
Real quick, one before you pour it, I digress because I pushed you forward on it. What's the barrel program on the Grenache?
It is all neutral barrels.
Okay, that's what I figured.
The only wine that I've ever really put new oak on is my first wine, my first commercial wine I ever made, which I brought. I had a case for
Yeah,
it. So I
know.
brought
I
this
can't wait. That's
Syrah
super cool.
Viognier from it.
Yeah.
That was only 2.5 barrels, and I was at the time plus a couple kegs, and I was kind of tripping. I was like about having so much of it not in barrel that I bought a new 30-gallon barrel, and it was pretty strong at the time. So that wine was a couple neutral barrels, a new one. And
how's that,
kegs,
Bart? For your first wine that you decided to make, you decided to do a Syrah Viognier co-ferment.
Yeah.
You did?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that's a pretty strong flex for your first wine. You're like,
well, and when I was in France, I made friends with this guy who sells barrels for Bel Air barrels, and those guys are the schmoozers of the industry. So they've
barrel salesmen.
Yeah, so they got all the good wine, and he had us over to his house, and he loved Northern Rhone wines, and I don't know how to pronounce this honestly, but like this guy Gangloff, he had a bunch of his wines. Yeah. And like, so he opened a bunch of those, and I just remember thinking, I was like, if I get the chance to do this, obviously, up there, the Viognier ripens first, right? So you chuck the Viognier in, maybe if your Syrah is not getting ripe, there's a stylistic aspect too, but there's also like a recovery aspect. And here, that's not an issue. Whenever I made that wine for like maybe 5 or 6 years, and the Viognier is also like by the time the Syrah is ready, the Viognier is toast. It's not even, you wouldn't
freezing it.
No, just a small portion, and like you hedge your bets, pick the Syrah a little less ripe, and then you throw in your Viognier that's a little more ripe, and works out. But so it's made for different reasons. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, so you wanted to hear about the next wine. We'll get to that, patience. This is I call this Everything in Its Right Place. That is Kid A Radiohead ripoff. So essentially this is a Sonoma County red blend, and it will be going forward for the foreseeable future. It's a Malbec base, and this is the wine that I'm really trying to turn into one that I can hit a better price point for. So I consult for the owner of this vineyard. So he gives me Alexander Valley.
This is a Malbec vineyard?
Yeah. Okay. So he gives me Alexander Valley Malbec for very cheap. And then essentially I use this wine. So I make that Malbec. It's typically this year the Malbec was 100% whole cluster. The last 2 years were 50% whole cluster. And then I use varying amounts of other wines to kind of get the wine where I want. So it's honestly, it's like there's a stylistic goal, but it's also a way to be like, I have too much Syrah, and the Syrah is expensive. Like I'm not going to move that. Boom, it goes into there, right? And then you got to blend accordingly to make it work. So this version, 2023, is about 50% whole cluster Malbec. It's about 25% from Alexander Valley. It's about 25% Grenache from that bottle right there. It's about 5% Syrah from Russian River as well. And then the remaining 20 is actually a blend of white wine. It is Arnais, it is Chenin Blanc, and it is Grenache Blanc. And so essentially, once I had the red blended, it was a little stemmy, and that's why since then I've gone to 50% whole cluster Malbec for the base. And so I wanted to make this, this one was, I don't recall, maybe 16, 17 months in barrel. So it's kind of, not short, right? Going forward, it's going to be less. And I want it to be lighter on its feet, crushable, delicious, but elegant, kind of like that Grenache, and do really well in a fresh by the glass situation, and also work well in the summer. And so adding that white wine, doing trials, was like, this is just getting me closer to where I want to go.
Yeah, and it's cool if you can get it on for the right price by the glass, and it piques people's interest. They're like, oh, what a cool, interesting blend. Let's dig in a little bit more and find out where this guy is making wine at.
And going...
So what's the name of the Malbec vineyard if you...
Lopez Family Vineyards. Okay. And here you go. They make Cabernet Franc. We make it for them. Cabernet Franc, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. Going forward, this blend is going to be more in the at least 65% Malbec range, because honestly, with that and then doing some of the other stuff in there, I can then make it affordable because I'm getting this fruit for a deal because I am helping consult for his winemaking. And so if I get the blend to that amount, I can actually afford to have it placed on menus through my distributor, another person who's got to touch it, right? For the right price.
So you mentioned Arnace and Chenin. Do you make those wines also?
Not anymore. But yes, I was making Arnace from Potter Valley for Gondak Cellars. Last vintage was 2023.
That's a fun wine.
Yeah, it's a fun wine to make. And honestly, I thought about stopping making it every year, but I sold out of it ahead of time every year. It's a tiny amount. So I kept making it. But in all honesty, I think my Grenache Blanc is so much better that I was like, I'm going to make more Grenache.
Grenache Blanc is fucking great.
Yeah, I'm going to make more of that instead. And I'm not a dogmatic person, and I'm also not going to become too invested in anything that or try not to, where it's blinding you, you know, like if I sell out of all of these, like, you know, in a typical standard year within the release or ahead. And if I have inventory, I'm not going to make it, you know, right? Because I need to make money.
Yeah.
But and then the Chenin was for another project that I still have going. We just didn't pick it this year. It's called Little by Little. That's my buddy John Mulray and I.
Have we not had them on the pod?
No, that's me.
Little by Little?
Yeah.
I have bought your wine before.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's mine.
Oh, that's why I thought maybe they were on the podcast. No,
Okay,
I've actually bought that wine.
Okay, yeah. So if you look on the back of the label, it says produced and bottled by Gondak Cellars.
Oh,
That's my buddy John Mulroy, my first friend I met in kindergarten. He lives locally here too. We do.
Wasn't it Chenin? Didn't I have Chenin? Yeah.
Probably. We do. Yeah. That's that Chenin Blanc. And our last vintage was 24. We have enough, you know, too much, right? And so like we're not trying to just sit on inventory and then like make wines worse because you waited too long. So we'll probably make that wine again next year. But we also have Cabernet Franc and some Carignan.
Yeah,
funny.
All of those.
That's awesome.
Funny.
I'm really
No
happy
idea.
that you never know.
Now I see the label. I do recognize it, Brian. You probably shared a bottle of it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Small world. But yeah, so that Chenin from that project, just some extra, you know, essentially. And
okay, so I really want to talk about this wine because I think this is, for me, a direction that I think a lot of younger consumers would appreciate this wine for a number of different reasons. But I like that it's I like the combo with the white wine with the red wine, and it's super crushable, drinkable,
rich,
but it's not
but smooth,
right?
But it's
it
also
doesn't have
has
a firm tannin to it. It's like
it still holds up to food, and
right.
like, thank you.
But here's
I'm like force feeding you compliments to give me.
No, I like it. But here's the thing: is how do you? Is this one of the wines that your distributor has?
Next year they will.
Because I'm wondering how the conversation goes when they talk about this wine. Because that's the only thing I think about is once you get it in someone's mouth, they're like, "Oh yeah." But just talking about this wine, a lot of people would go, "What the fuck?"
Totally, and I think, but at the same time, it depends on who you're talking to, because I think a lot of people will go, "What the fuck?"
Right,
and a lot of people would be like, "What the fuck?" You know,
like
right?
People
like,
who are into classics will be like, "Yeah, this is what they do in Chateauneuf."
Yeah,
they're blending white and reds together as well.
And I think, like you said, a little bit of a younger generation. I think this style is kind of for that, and part of that is, you know, fresher, lighter. You don't need to cellar it forever. Who can afford to do that?
Nobody does.
It does well in the winter and the summer. Yeah. It's versatile. But yeah, the conversation with the distributor is, you know, honestly, they kind of specialize in having something different.
Yeah. You
know, they have a lot of wines. They have like from like Uruguay and like other places like that. So that's kind of their bread and butter. Yeah. But I we'll see this year. So this year they actually do have this wine this year, but I kegged it all for them.
Jasmine, you got to try this wine. Okay. Grab a glass.
What's up, Jasmine?
Hi.
You're a younger person, Jasmine.
Yeah, we need a young person's opinion.
But yeah, so that in 23, essentially, I'm trying to make all these wines, especially that one. Like the goal with that one is it's wine club, and the rest is by the glass, and it's gone.
I mean, if you said that this was a Malbec,
The Grenache first.
If you said this was a Malbec based wine, I would say that you were crazy.
Yeah, totally. How was did you sell out of your Malbec, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You should have charged $100 a bottle for it.
But yeah,
next time. Are you going to get any? Are you going to do it again?
I have 2 vintages to bottle still.
Oh, great.
I tell people, Brian, that they hear you say that and they get offended that you say that because people don't want to pay $100 for a bottle of Malbec. People don't want to pay $100 for anything.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Actually, some people do.
I get it. I get it.
Some
What you're
people
saying.
do. They want to buy the most expensive wine you have. It's so stupid that they want to. Yeah.
It is true. But yeah, so that one is in distribution, but my distributor, essentially they said, we'd like to try this try to have a wine for some higher end keg placements. Right. And so they told me, if you keg the rest of it, we'll buy it right now. So I said, here you go. It's all in keg. And this next year, it's mostly going to go in bottle.
Right.
For them.
Or are you trying that one first?
Yeah, this is.
No.
Okay.
Is this the first one?
Yeah. Or either that one or this one.
If it's whatever I pour you, it is this one.
Okay.
That's Russian River Grenache, made in a lighter style, I would say. Not like a glue wine style, just more like a Pinot.
Yeah.
Is this Alban clone or?
I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows. That vineyard was planted a long
Ask Max.
time ago. I don't think he knows. It was planted a long time ago. Steve from Crux told me they think they got the cuttings from like San Jose area when that was a farm area.
Oh, you know what? Steve talked to us about this. Is that he get the other part of the vineyard?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah,
and he thought it was from a Santa Cruz
something
or
like that.
Santa Clara based vineyard. And I know that there are some Grenache vineyards that I've heard talked about that were older vineyards down there. So that is.
So it's definitely older genetics to California, at least. I have no clue.
Okay,
and this one next.
Yeah, that's one we really want you to try. Is that it? Yeah.
The one with the Radiohead song.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Trademarked it. I also have a Built to Spill album trademarked. I have a wine called Keep It Like a Secret.
Jasmine.
They're actually coming to Sonoma soon. I got tickets.
Who?
Built to Spill.
Oh, no way. Jasmine's
they're
on her way
playing
to see.
Gunlock Bunch, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where are you
I
seeing
saw them there
TV
a
on
few
the
years
radio?
ago.
Yeah, I was at that show.
It was awesome.
Orfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow, Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
Who are you seeing, Jasmine?
TV on the radio.
Oh, cool. I saw them this summer.
I saw them at South by Southwest.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's going to be my first time going with Chris Yarian. He's seen them before.
They're a powerful band, man.
Oh, I'm like, I need to not pick grapes that day and have some energy.
Yeah, it's a powerful
I saw them this
show.
summer opening for
Oh, someone else was talking about this yesterday.
the
LCD sound system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
This is great.
Thank you. So that's a pretty weird blend.
Right. Yeah. Tell her what it
It's
is.
50%. And so this is the goal of this wine is this is the wine that I want to be able to make and hit a lower by the glass price point. For it's, in all honesty, partially a dumping ground for like some of these other wines, but it's an intentional one. The base of it is some Malbec that I get for a super good deal for someone who I consult for, and that's how I can make it affordable. This one is 50% whole cluster Malbec, 25% Grenache, 5% Syrah, and the remaining balance is 20% is Arnais, Chenin Blanc, and Grenache Blanc.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Right?
Weird
Not
one.
expecting that blend at all.
And people, they're like, oh, but it's a red wine. Well, yeah.
I understand that part of it.
And going forward, it's going to have a higher proportion of Malbec, just because I can make the economics of it work that way a little better.
I'm definitely tasting like Grenache and Syrah.
It is, yeah, there is a hint of it for sure.
Yeah. Super crushable red.
Oh, totally.
Right. All right. What's in
Okay, we got two more. of the current lineup. This is Russian River Syrah. This is my biggest wine. This is
That's what I picked this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's the one I like. Here, dump that. Let's give you a true rinse.
So
This is the one I drink the most of.
where's the Syrah vineyard?
So this is sorry, I gotta get close to the mic. This is Abramson Ranch. It's on Abramson Road, which is just east of Willowside Road, north of Guerneville Road, Santa Rosa Plains area.
The acids are like,
they're
not too.
And so it's pretty killer Syrah. I used to make Syrah from the Knights Valley. This one is a co-ferment. It is 3 different clones that are, 2 of them are a lot less ripe. One of them is really ripe. This wine kind of usually lands in the higher 13 alcohol zone. It's my biggest wine. And you just
What is your biggest one?
pick them all at the same time, chuck them in the tank together, do a decent bit of whole cluster. And this wine also, this wine takes a while. This one's more like in the anywhere from 18 to 22 months in barrels. So I'm like going to bottle it in the late spring all the way to right before harvest, depending on the vintage. Still no new oak, and just going for the nuance of fruit. And this one's more structured. This is definitely more of my this is the only one I submit for scores because I have kind of an idea of what they think with that. And
This is 22.
Yeah, I love this wine. Pretty pumped on it.
22. Tell me your 22 story.
Well, you probably picked a lot earlier than we did.
I'm wondering.
22 is
Heat spike, Labor Day.
Very ripe vintage.
Yeah.
Everything was right. My Grenache Blanc, I was like, it's ruined. It was because this is, it's a little more restrained style Grenache Blanc. The 22 was way more rich.
Yeah.
It sold great. So it wasn't a problem, I was just me losing sleep. But my 22 Grenache was way more rich. It was really nice. I didn't think it was as pretty as this one. But to be honest, 22, I just remember it being really hot. And it was also, I believe, one of the first years that wasn't so terrible with fires in a little bit. So that's kind of what I remember. I remember you guys talking with Crux a bit about fires and that's what I think about with this. We didn't have
The 22 was a non-fire year, but it was 114 for 4 days on Labor Day weekend, and it was 98 coming up to it, and it continued at 98 going out of it.
Yeah, and we haven't had any of that this year, which has been great. Thanks for refreshing my memory. I don't quite remember, but we got through it.
The wine tastes great.
And it was not for this Syrah, it was actually really good because it's kind of a later ripening, reasonably. It's not a cool site, but it's not a hot site. And probably, I think, made my favorite vintage of this wine.
All right, so now...
And no fire.
So Jasmine, this is really cool. This is the first wine that he made for himself and on his label. So for his first wine, he decides to do a Syrah Viognier co-ferment.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, you blew it. He just spilled his whole dump cup.
That's why we're outside, Bart.
Save the electronics.
So here we go.
That's why we can have nice things.
I mean, I know I feel bad. This is a really nice tablecloth. I'm sure it's Arden's.
It's probably from the 40s.
And I apologize. What was your name again?
Jasmine.
Yeah. And you work here at 16600.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great to meet you.
That's our GM.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. Congrats. That's
Show
a good
some
job.
respect.
Yeah. My bad.
Someone should.
Yeah. I should have
There's a lot of people don't give it to
should have
her.
worn nicer shorts. I would have worn my dress Vans.
Those were looking pretty clean. I thought you were your dress
Good
vans.
call. They actually are my dress Vans. Yeah, you're right. Good eye.
That's totally a thing. Dress fans. My husband has a pair of dress fans.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You keep them white?
He just has a pair that he only wears if I'm like, hey, yeah, you need to wear jeans to this.
So Vans will look new for about 6 to 10 days, and then they look that next stage for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So like,
they're not like
you got to keep them. You got to keep them
clean,
fresh.
but yeah, he only wears them when I tell him he can't wear shorts to this occasion.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So this was the first commercial wine. I had made some garage wines before this, but this is I've only bottled maybe 2 or 3 wines, all of my Syrah that had some new oak. This is the easily the most substantially oaked wine. It was about 30% new oak, probably.
The oak's not really standing out at all.
I think it's
10 years old.
but
it is showing. Yeah, but sometimes when a wine has a lot of prominent oak,
Totally.
later on it really shows itself.
And
In this case, it's really nicely, but
I also
it is showing its
racked
age.
it out of that new barrel after a little bit because I was a little concerned. Yeah. So Syrah Viognier, we were getting Viognier for thumbprint from this vineyard in the Knights Valley. It's a really cool. It's in the Franz Valley, which is like it's part of the it's part of the Knights Valley AVA, but it's really its own place.
Knights Valley's out there.
Yeah. And the Franz Valley is even more out there. It's just like more in the middle of the Mayacamas, and
it's closer to Calistoga, right? Is that what Franz Valley is?
Yeah, it's like southwest side of Knights Valley ends, and then there's hills, and then there's another valley, and that's the Franz Valley. It's in the Knights Valley AVA, just for the same reason that Russian River goes from like Corbel to Katati to Dry Creek. You know, it's like it's a political thing, but it is actually a cooler subsection of the Knights Valley. But anyways, we were getting Viognier there. And this, my boss wanted me to try to find some more Syrah. They had some, and I was like, "Yo, let's see if we can do a co-ferment." So I did one, and then I did one for thumbprint as well.
Yeah. So how did you do it? Because we were talking about the Viognier and the Syrah are coming in at different times. So,
so they didn't. They came in at the same time, and. Yes, the Viognier from this vineyard ripens very differently, and it's it's like I said, it's like the inverse of like up in Northern Rhone, where like they're adding more ripe Viognier to underripe Syrah to help make a more ripe wine. That's not the case with mine. It's just you kind of hedge the bet and make sure you don't pick too ripe of Syrah, and then you're anywhere from 3 to 8% of Viognier goes in there. That stuff is like dessert wine at that point. It's like 28 bricks, right? But if you're bringing in the Syrah at like 23 or 23 and a half, something like that, you get to an okay point where you're still in balance. You still have good acidity, and that extra ripe Viognier. This is actually the least amount of Viognier that I put in anyone. This was like maybe 3, it was like 2 to 3%. And I went up to like 7. And those are really interesting. They're way less Syrah-like, I guess. Like they have like, you're like, was there a apricot in the room? Like what happened here? And I don't know. I just wanted to make something a little bit
together,
different.
Or are you throwing
ferment them together
with the Syrah?
Yeah,
you press them together and then fermenting them.
Yeah, you just chuck them in the tank together, let them ferment. It looks really cool. Like when you're doing punch downs, you have like this white. Yeah, totally, right? I never take enough pictures, but it does look really cool. And then I've thrown some Viognier or some Grenache Blanc in with my Grenache Noir before too, just to chuck it in. It might not end up on the label, right? But just to make it a little bit more interesting. It's not going to hurt, a little too much Viognier will, if you want like a brooding Syrah, a lot of Viognier is going to you're not going to get that in my experience. But this was also Knights Valley. It's not really brooding Syrah. And that's kind of why I moved away from it. It was just, one, hard to work with the vineyard. They just like weren't really wanting to do anything according to my plan, which is understandable because there's a little bit of fruit. And therefore, I was just getting picks that were a little bit riper than I wanted. So I moved on to that other vineyard, which I think different, but I think that Russian River Vineyard makes a better Syrah, and I think that one in 10 years compared to this one is
that Russian River Syrah
really
has
cool.
a nice like underlying meatiness to it that really makes it compelling wine.
What I love about that one is that it has all the... It's not like cool climate Syrah. It's not like olive juice or anything like that. There's a little bit of pepper. It's a little lavendery, right? But it's more like has all the great acidity of like a cooler spot, but then some more of the richer red fruits.
Well, especially from 22 also.
And none of the plum. Like, so it's just like got the good acidity and balance. But yeah.
All right, Will.
Great lineup.
Tell everybody how to
thank you.
find your wines.
He makes like 600 cases a year.
Nice.
The best way to find my wines is at gondakcellars.com.
Gondak.
Yes, Gondak cellars.com. You can find me at Instagram at Gondak Cellars. Send me an email.
Who does the Instagram stuff?
Oh, me. Yeah,
all you.
I do it all for the most part. Like I have, like my friends do the pictures for the labels, but I put the templates together. But pretty much just me. I have an Instagram, or no, I have a Gondak Facebook, but I've been logged out of it for years, so don't hit me up there. I don't even know how to get on it. But yeah, you can send me an email. I have a handful of these wines are wine club only, so you can join my wine club. That's the best way to get something. If I have a case or so left and you ask super nicely, I might sell it to you if you're not in the wine club. But yeah, and also hit me up, come visit. That's the coolest
That's the thing.
thing.
How can people come taste the wines?
You can do a little behind the scenes tour at the winery.
Cool.
And you have to arrange it with me. I'm not just kind of hanging out there on Saturdays, but I have wine club members that'll do this, or sometimes I have, meet people at an event, bring a group of people. It's very much behind the scenes. There's no, velvet ropes and kind of gold.
Sign a waiver.
It's very much, it's a converted warehouse machine shop out in the middle of the Alexander Valley. And so if you want the fancy fare, go somewhere else. But if you kind of want the opportunity to, see behind the scenes and get to ask me questions and get to see all the stuff and see what like the real thing is, not just the marketing, then I would love to have you. And just send me an email.
Good pitch. I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you good? No, thank you. And then what about the wines that I found in the cellar? Can I drink those?
Those are all yours. Those were gifts.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then you should let Sam or whomever or whatever.
Sam wants to try some.
My wife went to a bachelor party today, so I'm not going to bring these home. In Montana.
In Montana.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's actually a post elopement bachelor party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there horses involved?
Probably not. These are not the most outdoorsy type. There's probably gonna be a lot of wine drinking.
Yeah.
Probably go to like, a hot spring kind of thing.
Yeah. Some facials involved.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
That's why you weren't invited.
Yeah, I was not invited. But they're going to have a great time. But anyways, so you should keep all these wines and have them yourselves, share them with anybody. If those box of wines you do have here, best gift to me you could do is just drink them with people. Yeah. Share. That's the hardest thing that I deal with, having a full-time job and not wanting to have a miserable life and still have extra time, is that I don't spend so much time doing outreach. I need to do more, but that's meeting people and getting my wines in front of people is the hardest thing.
We all talk about like how come wine drinking is down or whatever, and everyone has like there's like 10 things that people list off of, like
I've got
cannabis and beer and all this other shit. And the more I've been thinking about it over the past year, I think wine's a social thing.
Absolutely.
And I think the pandemic fucking killed all of our social activity. Coming out of the pandemic, people wanted to be social, but we all learned to order everything to our house. We all learned to order food delivered to our house. We're not going out to eat at restaurants anymore. And we're all just sitting at home. And who wants to share a nice bottle of wine?
Totally. I mean, it's
by themselves, sitting at home.
That's like, like a pretty mediocre glass of wine, like with like a really rad group of people,
Yeah.
that's a great time,
Totally.
you know, and like, so that's undeniable. It's like, you know, your experience is not just based on that. So
I'm throwing out a challenge to all the other wineries here in Sonoma. Create some events where we can get together and share wine.
yeah, and invite me.
Yeah. We're talking about a 90s hip hop night here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That'll be great. And then we also have
Well,
dinner at the Glen Ellen Star
Oh,
on
thank you, yeah.
November 11th.
That
Yeah.
place rules. That's like where my wife and I do birthday dinners. It's
Yeah, we're doing a 16600 wine dinner, and it'll.
I think the last time you and I were there was for Bart's
dinner. Yeah,
and it was great.
that was a great dinner.
Yeah.
I love when Ari gets to go like.
Where do you like to
Rogue.
sit? Do you like a table or you like to sit at the bar?
I'm right in front of the chef's counter.
Me too. That's the only
place I like to
Otherwise,
sit.
it's like,
Yep.
yeah, you just, especially when you're like on a date with someone you've been with for like 10 years, like you don't need to just be in a corner facing them, right? Like it's nice to have like watch the chef do his thing or her thing.
But I also love the aromas that come off everything in the kitchen. Like it hits you, you know.
Oh, it's so cool.
Chicken goes down on the fryer. And just
When you
boom,
work in a
boom, boom.
restaurant
They're
too,
such
one of the
pros.
greatest jobs, this sounds stupid, but is to be a dishwasher when they do the sauces in the pans and they just throw the pans at you and you just have a loaf of bread up there and you just sit there and you just wipe up sauce out of pans. That should be a concept for a restaurant where like they make shit, but then if you're sitting at the counter,
Oh my goodness.
they just put the pan and like a half a loaf of bread up there and you just
Like tapas style, like
and you just
swabbing.
You're just licking sauce out of pan.
It may still be there. There was a restaurant in Sacramento that was called The Kitchen, and it had such a great concept in that you know, it was kind of a price fix menu and you had choice between two different mains, and they would serve you your main and then they'd come back and they'd go, would you like seconds? But then the other thing they would do is they would bring you a small portion of the other offering.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, I can't decide. Do I want the steak or the chicken?
Right.
And you don't know it, but you're getting the chicken also.
Right. Do you remember the big yellow house in Santa Rosa?
Yeah, I do.
Where it was this huge big yellow house and they would weigh the kids when they came in on a scale. And then it was like under 12. And then you would pay based on how much you weighed when you left.
But
it was all family
awesome.
style. It was like fried chicken, mashed potatoes.
it was
and they just kept bringing it until you said stop.
It was right there.
There's a way to game that system.
Right where
there,
the fire burned
where
across
fire
the
burned
freeway,
down, yeah.
right? Yep.
I think it's, right now there's a cannabis store right there. But that big yellow house.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
All
right, awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Anything you
for
want to talk
having me.
about with Sonoma Valley vendors and growers?
No, we're,
you guys done for the year?
Yeah, we're done for right now. I'm already talking about next year. No. I'm doing a cruise. We're doing a cruise with Klein Cellars and Glory Ferrar in, I don't know,
2026.
in 2026. So anybody's interested in that, we have a nice group of people from the listeners that are going to it. It's awesome.
Oh, right on.
So I have details on that. If you're interested, let me know. Wine Club emails going out. Well, it will be out by the time this hits because we're a week behind here.
Yep.
So that's good. Introducing the 21 and 22 Rossi blend.
Nice.
We're sending them both out. I kind of struggled with what to send out, and I bottled these wines because they both needed to be bottled. And, what is the difference? And I think the vintage defines the difference in the wine.
100%.
Oh, totally.
Hell yeah.
Ours
So
are so
it's-
different.
Are these your wines or
Yeah.
these 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, these
okay.
are my
What's
wines.
your brand?
Dane Cellars.
Okay. Oh, okay.
.com.
Okay. I'm familiar.
Yeah. Thanks. And so that's very exciting. I can't wait to get those out. And this year's harvest is humming along beautifully.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I'm glad that I don't have to deal with any of the rain that's coming. But I
Yeah,
think
it
it's
was-
going to be just fine.
It was wet this morning.
Yeah, it was wet this
Deep
morning.
breath.
And we're in the
gonna be
home
okay.
stretch here
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
16600. By the time you listen to this show, we'll have already done the end of the year harvest party and got a couple other things coming up, but nothing. We're kind of done.
And I'll hopefully be camping when this comes out.
Yeah, you're getting ready to go up to where?
Well, I like to keep my secrets, but a couple spots up in the Sierras. Depends on the weather. Try to do some fishing.
They're talking about maybe a little snow coming in on this trip.
Hopefully not.
I mean,
not at maybe at higher elevations.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about.
Well, it doesn't mean it's going to stick.
Yeah, I'm talking more in like the 3,000 to 4,000 foot elevations.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, get some of these wines. What happens? Do you do a release? What do you do for the wine club members?
Good question. So I do. My wine club is 2 shipments a year. So I do a spring-ish, summer-ish, depends on when they're ready. Call it roughly June. And then I do a fall-ish, winter-ish, which is usually November. I try to get it out before December so I can get some people to buy it as gifts. Yep. I do a 6-bottle club. That's 15% off. And then you get the wine club only wines. And you also get free shipping on any 6-bottle order after your wine club shipment, or maybe it's a case. And then I have a case club, so that's a case twice a year. They get 20% off. They get free shipping. This is the better deal. They get free shipping on their wine club shipment, and then anytime they reorder 6 or more bottles, they get free shipping as well. And so I essentially release the wines accordingly to that. That said, I will sometimes pre-release wines via wholesale. Like if I'm about to lose like a really good by the glass account and I just ran out of the 23 because like this Grenache Blanc at the current rate I've been running out of it too soon. And so I'm making a bit more. And so, that is also already on some menus. And that's just how it's got to be at the moment. But yeah, typically releases, at least direct to consumer releases with the wine club shipments twice a year.
Hit us up on the social media. If anyone doesn't know, we're at Winemakers Pod.
Yep.
At Dane Cellars.
At Dane Cellars. At
16600
and at Sonoma Wine Lover. And at Jean de Bois, which of course you're going to need an explanation for. JAMBEDESBOIS.
She's not here.
She's not.
It's who?
She's not here today, but
Jean de what?
Danielle will be back. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, appreciate it.
Share more wine with your friends.
Yes.